After my girlfriend made fun of my generosity in front of her friends and boasted about how simple it was to control me, I decided to file a lawsuit because I could no longer stand the disrespect. I'm 28 years old, from a middle-class family, and I work as a sales manager. Last year, at a mutual friend's birthday party, I met my 26-year-old girlfriend, who works as a marketing coordinator for a local company. She seemed really laid back at first, and we clicked right away, connecting over our love of indie music and trying out new restaurants. The first few months of our relationship were fantastic. We spent weekends exploring the city, attending concerts, and just enjoying each other's company. However, after about 6 months, I started to notice a few red flags, which I initially dismissed as quirks. She would frequently forget her wallet. When we went out and when I took her out to dinner, she would order the priciest items on the menu without even saying thank you. I still convinced myself that these were small problems we could resolve. Things started to change when she introduced me to her friend group, which was all about appearances and status, designer purses, luxurious vehicles, and lavish outings. Throughout the entire process, I observed how she would behave differently around them, becoming more materialistic and even contemptuous. She would brag about the presents I got her and the places I took her, but there was something strange about the way she presented it. Last month, I decided to surprise her by taking her and 3 of her closest friends to a fancy restaurant for her birthday. I had been saving money for it, and during dinner I noticed her friends exchanging knowing looks and trying to contain their laughter every time I offered to buy more drinks or suggested dessert. After the main course, I excused myself to use the restroom. On my way back, I overheard their conversation through the partially open door of our private dining area. What I heard stopped me cold. "He's so easy to manipulate," my girlfriend said, her voice a little slurred from the wine. "Just bat your eyes. Remember how my ex used to spoil me? Now, all of a sudden, he's pulling out his wallet." Her friends laughed. One of them said, "Girl, you've got him wrapped around your finger. Remember how you told him your car broke down? And he gave you money for repairs, so you could buy that Gucci bag instead." My girlfriend responded, "Watch this. I'm planning to convince him to help with my credit card debt next month. He's such a sucker for the whole damsel in distress act, and he has that promotion coming up at work." I stood there, feeling like a complete fool. All those times she called me her hero for helping her with alleged emergencies. Car repairs, bills, had been nothing more than manipulation. What's worse is that she wasn't even concealing it anymore. She was openly making fun of my generosity, treating it like a game, and her friends were amused by the way she was playing me. My thoughts were racing as I stepped back into the dining room, but I kept my face neutral. My girlfriend instantly returned to her kind, considerate persona, which I now recognized was completely fake. "Everything was not okay, sweetie. You were gone for a while." I sat down and forced a smile, acting like everything was fine. "Hey, did you mention anything about credit card debt earlier this week?" Her face briefly froze, but she quickly recovered, launching into a practiced story about unforeseen expenses and how anxious she was about the mounting interest. Her friends exchanged knowing looks, probably expecting me to jump in and offer assistance. Instead, I took out my phone and began browsing through my banking app. "What are you doing?" she asked, leaning closer to check. I calmly replied, "You know, it's funny. Over the past few months, I've assisted you with a number of situations." I glanced at my phone and added, "That new Gucci bag you were wearing came out in March, those Jimmy Choo shoes in April, and that Cartier bracelet in May." Her face lost all color, and her friends suddenly seemed very interested in their dessert plates. I continued, "Only $2,800 was spent on auto repairs in March, $200 for a rent shortfall in April, and $3,500 for medical bills in May." The silence at the table was deafening. My girlfriend's face cycled through shock, anger, and then settled on damage control. "What exactly are you implying?" she asked. "I'm not implying anything," I replied. "I'm just stating facts. The same facts I overheard you bragging about a few minutes ago." I turned to her friends and said, "You all seem to find it hilarious how she's been scamming me. So, you didn't use the money I gave you for auto repairs to purchase a Gucci bag, and your credit card debt isn't just another scam to defraud. Me of more money?" she stammered. "You must have misheard us joking around, baby. You know how girls talk when we're together. Don't make this into something serious. I heard you calling me a sucker and boasting about how easily you can control me." Her friends began packing up their belongings, clearly anxious to leave the situation. One of them even had the audacity to suggest, "Maybe we should give you two some privacy." "Oh no," I stated firmly. "You were all involved in this. You knew what she was doing, you supported it, you joked about it, and you kept watching. My girlfriend started crying, but it was too late. The damage had already been done." "I'm sorry for what I said," she pleaded. "I was just trying to impress them. You know how much you mean to me. We had everything up to this point." I gave her a cold look before responding. "Let's focus on that credit card you've been so concerned about. How much was it again?" Her expression briefly brightened, probably thinking she still had an opportunity to manipulate the situation. "It's $1,800, she whispered. "The interest is killing me." The hope in her eyes almost made me feel sorry for her. Calmly, I took out my checkbook, wrote the check, tore it out, and held it out. "Here's your $1,800, I said. Her hand reached for the check, but I quickly withdrew it. "First, I want you to admit everything. No lies, no excuses, the truth." She hesitated, her eyes fixed on the check. After a moment of internal struggle, her greed overcame her pride. "Yes, I've been playing you," she said, her voice cold and calculated. "Yes, you're a nice guy with a good job and you're easy to manipulate. Yes, I used the money for car repairs to buy the bag. I used the money for shoes, and yes, I was planning to use your promotion bonus to clear my real debt. Happy now?" Her friends sat in stunned silence, their eyes wide. I reached into my pocket and pulled out something else, a small digital voice recorder. "This," I said, "contains your complete admission of fraud." She lunged for the recorder, but I easily moved it out of her reach. "Or what?" she demanded. "You'll tell everyone I'm a terrible person for exposing your scams?" I pressed a button and deleted the recording right in front of her, sealing the moment. The truth was out, and there was no going back. "What are you doing?" she screamed, her mask completely gone. "We had a deal." "No," I replied. "We had a confession, and now everyone here knows exactly who you are." Without hesitation, I added, "Go ahead," and then took out my phone to play the recording I had made earlier. Her voice, mocking me in front of her friends, filled the dining room as she spoke about how easily she had exploited me. "You recorded us without our consent," one of her friends said, attempting to shift the blame onto me. I shrugged. "This state has one-party consent laws for recordings, and since I attended the dinner party, it's totally legal. Last week, when I first thought something wasn't right, I checked with a lawyer friend. He also helped me track down all my emergency payments and the timeline of your lavish purchases." "I'm furious," she exclaimed. "Why are you trying to embarrass me? Good luck proving anything." I responded calmly. "Legally, I'm fine. You're right. The money I gave you was technically a gift, but all I need is for people to see the truth." I paused and added, "What do you think about all those social media posts you love to make, boasting about your expensive purchases? I've saved them all with timestamps that line up perfectly with when I gave you money for those so-called emergencies." Her face turned pale as her friends started piecing it together. They probably remembered all the times they liked and commented on those posts, oblivious to the truth. She whispered weakly, "I wasn't doing anything to you." "No," I said. "Your actions, your choices, and your consequences are all your own. I just decided not to be your victim anymore." I stood up, took out my wallet, and left enough money to cover the entire table's bill. "Think of this as the last time I'll ever pay for anything." One of her friends hesitantly asked, "If you suspected all of this, why bring us here?" "Enablers need to witness the repercussions," I replied. "You all knew what she was doing. You laughed about it, encouraged it, and even helped her plan it. Now you get to watch it all come crashing down. I turned to my now ex-girlfriend and said, I've already packed up everything you left at my place. It's with the doorman at your building. Don't contact me again. You'll regret it. She growled, I'll tell everyone how controlling and abusive you are. I cut her off. I have the documentation, the recordings, and the witnesses here. Try it. See how that works out for you. I glanced around the table, meeting everyone's eyes. Your friends will be thrilled to back up your version of events, I'm sure. Her friends' silence was deafening. Most of them were already turning away, realizing that sticking by her could damage their own reputations. I continued, I'm not going to do anything more, but from now on, you'll have to support your own lifestyle and stop taking advantage of kind people who genuinely care about you. As I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm. Wait, we can fix this. I'll pay you. Back. Everything, I swear. Just don't expose me like this. I turned back and said, Expose you? Like you exposed me to your friends? Like how you mocked me behind my back? Or how you turned my generosity into a joke? I leaned closer and added, The difference is, I'm not exposing anything. Your own words and actions did all the work. One of her friends, who had been the quietest so far, finally spoke up. He's right. We were wrong. We encouraged it. I'm sorry, my ex snapped at her, giving her a venomous glare. Don't you dare take his side, I addressed the group. The next time she comes to you with a sob story about needing money or help. I could hear chaos erupting behind me as I walked toward the exit. Accusations flew, revealing other scams I hadn't even been aware of. But I didn't look back. The next few days were a blur of activity. My phone was inundated with messages, first angry, then pleading, then threatening, followed by apologies. Her friends also reached out, some apologizing, others defending her, and a few even trying to guilt-trip me for ruining her life. She even showed up at my workplace, causing a scene and claiming I had abandoned her when she needed help. Security escorted her out, and after the situation got out of hand, I decided to take legal action. I filed a civil complaint against her for fraud and misrepresentation. The overwhelming evidence included recordings of her admitting the fraud, text messages describing her fake crises, and the timeline of my payments against her social media posts flaunting luxury purchases. She tried to claim the money was a gift, but the judge saw through her lies. The court ordered her to repay the $7,500. The most damning evidence was the recording of her bragging at the restaurant, where she freely admitted to defrauding me for financial gain. She argued that she couldn't afford to repay me, but my lawyer discovered that she still had most of the